and welcome in 5 games in under 30 minutes. We are going to do a quick overview and then the review. And hello, I'm Stella.
And I'm Tarrant.
From Meeple University. Now, despite of we have 5 games, it's actually all from 2 different designers, which is Ryan and Phil Walker-Harding.
Yes, so we have Quest for El Dorado and Mille Fiori from Ryan Knizia, Pass the Party Food, Scribbly Gum, and Super Mega Lucky Box from Phil Walker-Harding.
Let's get started. First game is The Quest of El Dorado by Ryan Knizia.
This is a race, basically. It is a race that is driven by a deck building engine. Pretty much as simple as that. You're these workers down here, these meeples, and you're trying to race across the track to get to the gates of El Dorado. These tiles are all double-sided. There's more of them in the box. There are multiple ways that you can lay out the track. Some more sensible than others, but the box does claim to have over 100,000 configurations, but I'm sure fewer good ones.
Okay.
So it's played with a deck building engine. You have 8 cards. You have 4 in each turn. And the cards will tell you which spaces you can walk through, essentially. So these, you need machetes to go through the jungle. So 1 machete gets you through 1 jungle. You could go through the water with your sailor, and so on. So you're basically spending the icons to go into the space that you're trying to get to. The money cards will either get you through these desert places, or you can hang on to them to buy more cards. And at the end of your turn, with any cards that you haven't spent for movement, you can spend them for purchasing. These cost their printed value, and any other card can be discarded for half a gold. This will then let you, with an interesting mechanic, you can buy any card from the 6 available here. There's only 3 of each, and then once they're gone, it frees up a space in the market. That lets you buy anything, but as soon as you buy something, the leftover ones from it come down and fill the market and block out that capability again. So a little bit of a twist on the deck building mechanism there. So lots of ways you can go about the race. You can race ahead. If you go ahead, you have to break down these barricade icons. They cost you extra, but they are the tiebreaker if multiple players reach El Dorado in the same round. Or you can hang back. You can buy a whole lot of cards. You can even go to these red spaces. Can't go through there. Go to these red spaces to trash cards, thin your deck out. And then in the end, everyone tries to get to the end. Now you'll see on this tile here, you can use these cards to go multiple hexes, but you can't add multiple hexes together to go through a tile. So there's all these spaces here that need 3. You can shortcut this with 3 machetes, but you need one of these 3 machete cards to do that. If you only have 1 machete, you can't add them together. You have to take the snake path.
Very well done game, I think.
Yes.
We haven't played the original, and I believe this is quite similar, but this one's the art is done by Vincent Dutray, which you can see very lovely art, very bright and nice color. And I am just drawn to racing game. I'm drawn to deck building games. So this one's like, why haven't I played this earlier? I don't know, but I'm glad that I did, because I love these mechanics. Okay, like the minion, you do 10 deck in the game or 10 sets of cards in the game, and this is like you use all of them, but then you got to control which one that you're going to use. So a little bit of kind of like information overload at the start, maybe not, although it's quite simple. But yeah, you can get to choose which one that you want to come down next. There are some obviously rule breaking cards, but yeah. And despite that it's a race, if you start racing without strategizing your deck, you probably would not reach it early enough.
Indeed, I think it's a really well put together game. It feels really compact and optimized. You know, it is not a long game. It's not going to have that many rounds. And the choices you make early on, you know, it's got that deck building element where it's always going to kind of randomize the end and make it exciting. But you've got those options to forge ahead and just get a few little cards, or to really optimize your deck. So I think it's exceptional in that way.
Yep.
I really like that there's only 3 of each of these cards. I've never seen such a, and again, maybe it reflects the length of the game, but I've never seen such a, I guess, competitive approach for these cards, because you can rob other people of the opportunity to get the handful of cards that are really valuable.
Love it.
The biggest downside for me, and it's something I've said for Living Forest as well, because it's quite a short, compact game, Living Forest very much is as well, I think the setup and breakdown time for the physical copy of this game doesn't really justify the gameplay unless you're going to play it multiple times. So this is the sort of thing where I don't actually know if there's a Board Game Arena version, but this would I would play this on Board Game Arena more than I would play it in person, would be my view.
Good to know. And the next one is also by Ranizia, Mille Fiori.
Indeed. So this is a card drafting and sort of grid placement type of game. So we've got all these cards in hand, and each of them corresponds to a space on this board. And what you'll be doing is placing your diamonds out on the spaces corresponding to the cards you draft, and scoring points in various ways based on which part of the board you're in. So each round, everyone has 5 cards. Everyone chooses one. And then in turn order, after they've all been chosen, those will get revealed and resolved. And then you immediately score points based on where you are. We've got this block up here where you'll be scoring points based on your grouped clusters. So that would be 4 points, for example, or if you use the pigment, it's doubled. Over here, you are placing on... You're just placing along the chain. You get the points you cover and any in a connected group. So that would be 7 points there for the green player. But then if red were to come in, this would be only 5, for example. Or even if purple came in, it would be only 5. Down here, you're building these pyramids up from the bottom. I'll do this here. Diamonds in here are worth 1, 3, or 6 points. And all the tiles below them will score again. So this this placement here would be worth 3 for orange off this, and then 1 each for orange and purple, with it doubled if you play a card that matches the right icon there. Over here, you score more points for making columns, but everyone scores. So when this is placed, there's now 3 in this column. All the diamonds there would score 3. So all 3 of those players will get 3 points. And then over here in the shipping, when you play a shipping card, it will have a number on it which moves your ship and scores you some points. And all the ships in that, when it's completed, will score based on how many of the same row are full. So lots of different interacting ways that players will score. Each of these areas has bonus points if you are diverse in that area. So here, for example, it's covering each of the 4 icon types will give you a 20-point bonus.
The first player?
Yep, there's one of those for each of them. And in each of these areas, there's also a way of scoring bonus cards with this little star icon. And when you unlock one of those, you get an extra turn. You pick any one of the face-up cards. These will continue getting added to through the game. And it gives you an extra placement. And you can chain those together. Game plays until the deck is empty or someone's run out of diamonds.
I love this game. I mean, there's not a lot of theme here. I mean, shipping or whatever. I mean, it's a Euro game. I don't expect a lot of theme, which is fine. And it's so interactive. You would look at what you have, you look around, what you see your opponent has, and then the first player goes around. So you kind of like try to anticipate, okay, I want to do this one. I'm the first player, so I must probably go here if I can. And that's if I have the card. This is my favorite of the game, where you combo everything. So when you chain it right, you can combo things after things after things, which has happened to me a few times. I combo like 3-4 cards at the same time and then collected lots of points. These cards can also be used as just moving the ship, like this 1 here, 5, 1, and so on. You can time it so that you can move it to number 10. You can time it so that you can move to the bonus space. I time it quite early at times. Before the end of the game, I've already reached this, but that's fine. I feel like this is it's like good feeling and trying to combo the things together.
For me, I didn't like it quite as much as that. I found it was a game with not a lot of control. It was always, you would have your cards and they'd be passed around, and particularly if you're playing at a high player count, you're not going to see the same cards again, so the question of trying to do that tactically was not the hugest thing. So it was really make the most of what was placed in front of you at any given time. So I found the decisions from that perspective, they weren't that exciting a decision. A lot of the time it had kind of like your roll and write feel, where you're gonna place something and then you're gonna hope you get the right combos again later on. So it was fine. It was very easy to teach and very easy to play, and I do really like these transparent pieces. They're a lot of fun, but certainly not a big mentally taxing game.
It's an easy game. It's a filler game. I would definitely play it again. We're moving on now to Phil Walker Harding for Super Mega Lucky Box. This was out a few years ago. This is new to us.
This one here, this is a roll and write or a flip and write game. Very bingo-like. Each player will have a number of grid cards, and I believe you start with 3 and then you'll get more from round to round. The game is played in 4 rounds. And here we have a deck which has each number from 1 to 9 twice. And in each round, 9 of these will be taken. So you won't see any number more often than twice. And then, quite simply, these cards are flipped up, and each player will cross off one of that number on one of their boxes. And you'll do that through the 9, trying to fill in as much as you can. So you do have lightning bolts. You can spend a lightning bolt to treat a number as if it's one higher or one lower than it is, so that gives you the flexibility. And then each time you fill in a row or column, as long as it has a bonus next to it, then you gain that bonus immediately. So if I were to gain a couple of 5s and fill this in here, then I would immediately get a 9, and I could cross off a 9 somewhere else. Other types of bonuses that you can get from this, you can get more lightning bolts, you can get stars, and as you cross off stars, not that I've filled in the row, but when you cross off stars, you circle a star in your current round. You'll be trying to link those together, so you get the most points by getting 3 stars in the same round. And then there's also moons. You'll be collecting these moon tokens. They are pretty much Sushi Go's puddings. You'll gain or lose 6 points based on who has the most or fewest. You score points based on how early you fill these in. So each one you fill in round 1 scores 15 points, round 2 scores 12, and so on down to 8. Whoever gets the most points over 4 rounds is the winner.
If you haven't played Roll and Write or Flip and Write, this is a great entry level. As Tarrant said to me, this is like Ganshon Clever Light. So it's language independent. If you want to get into it, or you are craving on just basic flip and write, this is it. There's no gimmick, nothing, go straight for it. And Phil Walker Harding was really great in simplifying things, and this one is included. We actually played this on a holiday. We came back from Bali recently. Hopefully I'm dead.
Darker?
Maybe not. Tarrant's just getting burned. Maybe. No, you're getting darker as well, a little bit. We brought this in our travel because this is small and it's got small footprint. If you're playing it on a train, on a plane, that's basically it. That's pretty much your thing. So I find that really great and delightful to play with family as well. My sister's family, they don't speak English, but this is just a simple one for the kids age 15, 8, and 12. Sorry, I forgot the last one.
Look, for me, it's an entry level. I wouldn't call it a great entry level. I'd call it an entry level. I found this one quite dull. So it is themeless, like Ganshon Clever. And you are trying to get these bonuses like Ganshon Clever, but the variety kind of isn't there. It doesn't have an interesting dice drafting mechanism. It's just you're getting a number and you're marking it off. And then when you fill in a box, you get another number. It very much feels like bingo.
Okay.
I
love bingo.
It's only a half step above bingo
Mm-hmm.
for me. I was just looking for any sort of decision space, and there kind of wasn't one.
Yep.
It probably is a decent entry level for if you're only recently graduating from roll to move games. We're talking a game that's at that really, really easy level because you are kind of just watching the numbers and hoping they come up. I don't think there's anything in here for a hobby gamer.
Okay, that's fair.
And I'll also just say I didn't really like it with Silver and Gold either, another one of Phil's games, but
okay,
this whole marking cards and then having to come back and dry erase cards just from a component standpoint, not kind of my thing either.
Alright, so that is fair because Silver and Gold I also love and enjoy, so there you go. So we don't always agree, but I quite enjoy this because it's like light and simple, and I can beat Tarrant easily because I like nailed down the rules. I'm like, oh no, I don't forget the rules this time. There you go. So have you played this? Because this was out a few, like last year or something like that, and it was recommended to me by a few people that also love Silver and Gold. So I can see where they're coming from, and I quite enjoy this. The last two games are part of Joy Games, which is Phil Walker Harding's own publishing company. So he not only designed, he also published. And the first one out of the two that we featured today is Scribbly Gum.
Yes, so this is very similar to our previous one. It is a flip and write, a flip and draw game. And how this one works, this one now you're working on a grid and you're trying to go around the grid. This is based on real bugs in Australia that eat bark on these scribbly gum plants, and they leave these sort of patterns. So that's really what the game is all about. There are 8 tiles and 1 is removed at random in each round. There are 3 rounds and you'll flip them all up during each round. So when a tile is flipped up, you get to draw along one of those paths and then eat whatever food is at the end. So here it's a dotted path. The dotted paths are the really valuable ones. They're kind of the shortcuts around here. So starting from any one of these 4, you could draw along one of the dotted lines, cross out what you find, and cross it out on your meal tracker. Then you'll flip the next one. This is an up. So now I can go up from any one of my destinations. I could choose this one, or this one. Let's say I went here. Again, I'd cross that meal off, and so on. You'd go through all of these tiles. Out of the 8, there's an up, down, left, and right. There's 2 dotteds, and there's an up, down, and a left, right. At the end of each round, you score points based on how many complete rows you've filled. So you want to be consistently filling the rows evenly, because essentially every complete row you get in round 1 will score 3 times. It'll score you 3 points. In round 2, it will only score twice. Round 3, it will score once. You also get benefits by filling these columns. There's a 3-point bonus for each of these columns that you fill. And as you make your way out to the outer edges of this map, the spaces are more valuable. So that's where it's really beneficial to have these dotted line paths ready to go, because the quicker you can get to the outside, the quicker you can unlock these 2 and 3 point cards, spaces. That is the bulk of the game. This one does have a couple of scalabilities. So on the opposite side of the board here, you see you've got the Lula one, which is more asymmetrical. We start down here, so it's more effort to get up. There's a couple of dead ends, things like that. So a couple more tricky choices there. And then it's also got some objectives. You can pick up to 3 objectives to add some complexity. And these really work like the classic Welcome to objectives. First player or players to complete gets the higher points. Anyone else gets the lower points. And this is for things like reaching 12 on a certain track, filling in everything on the right-hand column, and so on.
Now, this is also flip and write, as you say, and as we see. How does it compare to the previous game?
For me, it's a much more interesting game than the previous one. I just found the decision space to be more interesting, making sure, because now I've got 8 tiles, one of them's missing, and I can look ahead and say, all right, what sequence do I, if I really want to get to these big ones, what might be left? Where do I have to position myself to have my best chance? So it's got, these are the sorts of things that something like Guild of Merchant Explorers at a higher level it actually worked quite similarly to Guild of Merchant Explorers in that way, because
Right.
you know what's coming or almost what's coming, and then you can make choices which hedge your bets against what that will be. I think the fact that it does have these achievements, I think if you're an experienced hobby gamer, you would just go straight in for these achievements. I don't think you'd play without them. But as an entry-level game, if you strip those things away, you're working with something very simple.
Yeah, and
So-
it's language independent. Again, that actually is the flip and right. You know, there's like out of 18 cards, only 9 is also selected. So what's the difference, Tarrant? I know what's the difference.
Yeah, the difference is this time one choice has a more direct impact on my second choice. So I felt the sequence and planning out my sequence was much more important here than it was
Yes.
in Super Mega Lucky Box.
It just means that you are not the target market for the game. And I know, again, games are made for different people, different taste.
Audiences.
So yeah, this one for me it's fun. Like same with the previous one, same with Super Mega Lucky Box. I say the title right. This also has like left and right. Like as you said, one is out, and then there's the welcome to type of objective, and this is great because this gives you extra action.
Yeah, a couple of extra bonuses in there that I didn't mention as well.
Yeah, I very much agree with him with this one, how fun it is and trying to generalize everything, but also trying to keep on the objectives. So one more that we have is Pass the Party Food. And the one that we haven't mentioned as part of Joey Games is...
Busy Beaks.
Yes.
Yeah, Joey Games coming out with three games as part of their first release. They're all in this art style. They're all themed to different Australian things.
Yeah, I love it. It's all Australian things so that people can find out more about Australia and come here.
Yep. And they're all light. They're all games which are designed to be played within a young family.
Yeah. So before we go to the next one, every single like, every single comments and view, and let us know if you there want to see what these games, which ones that you think you're gonna like, which one you have played. On to the next game. Last but not least, Pass the Party Food, also by Phil Walker Harding, plays 2 to 4 players.
Yeah, so this has a lot of components, but it's actually, when it boils down to it, a relatively simple concept. This is a set collecting game
Cooperative.
cooperatively. So, again, pitched at a very early level, you could imagine this potentially
7
being
plus.
you could imagine
Yeah.
this potentially being a card game where you're used to just collecting cards and trying to make sets. And in this case, you're trying to make sets of matching party food or sets of non-matching party food. The difference here is that this is a cooperative game. And you're at a party and you're trying to eat as much party food to get to the cake without being caught by the dog, which is stealing party food. So at the start of each turn, you draw one tile at random. That is placed on the dog's board. And if the dog completes a set, here it's a set of all different, those are discarded and the dog advances the number of spaces shown, which is 3. Then, if it's your turn, one at a time, you draw tiles from the bag and make your choice on whether you're going to keep it yourself, give it to the player on your left, or give it to the player on your right. So you don't get to see what's coming afterwards, you just have to choose. It's a little bit of push your luck, it's a little bit of guessing. So here it's like, all right, well, the player up there might get an extra fairy bread next time, so I'll give that player the fairy bread. I obviously want pikelets and green snakes. If I get a lamington, I'm going to give it to my neighbour there. All right, very good, there's a lamington. Then I will draw the third one. Okay, it's not what I wanted, but at least my teammates got relatively what they want. At the end of your turn, if you have any sets, you cash them in for points. And you need to beat the dog to the cake. And you need to, at the end of your turn, not have been caught by the dog. You've got a few once per game abilities here. So you can spend a swap to swap with one of your teammates. Or you can spend a take to take something from the dog's board and add it to your own. These are worth different numbers of points, so there's nowhere near as many lamingtons as there are green snakes. Anyone who's been to a party knows that's the case. And if you can get enough sets collaboratively to get to the top, then you win the game. In some ways, this is the simplest of all the games, and it's the game that is least pitched at a hobby board gamer, because you are essentially push your luck drawing and handing out. But of all these, of all the Phil Walker Harding games we've shown today, this one kind of stands out as not having anything out there really like it.
Yep.
I mean, if I go back and remember when I was 6 or 7 and playing lots of, playing card games where I'm just drawing cards blindly and trying to make sets, that was fun for me at that time. And this adds a really nice, clever twist on that. The thought that I'm helping you, we're fighting against the dog. This is, I've got these couple of things I can use a few times during the game to tip things in my favour. This is really clever in that way. Yeah, it really stands out to me as being just that little bit different. And I sort of, we reviewed Busy Beaks a little while back as well, and I had a lot of good things to say about the twist that put on what was essentially also a card-based set collection game.
We did top games of Phil Walker Harding, so check that video out if you're interested.
But yeah, for me, this is a really good family game.
I actually agree with Tarrant. I could see, I wish I would have played this with my sister's family, who's I think 7, 11 and 15 years old. I think they always fight, the three of them, like there's no tomorrow. Always fight, especially the youngest two. And this is good. This is cooperative game. They actually work together. So that's really awesome. And cooperative game with food theme, come on. That just sold me. And not only food theme, this is also Australian food. If you're not familiar with it, so lamington is Australian food, a type of Australian snack, which is soft sponge with cream, piglet
and jam and jam. Chocolate and coconut.
Yes, and then piglet is piglet, and then this is green jelly. It's like, what's that German food? But it's just like snake, yeah. And then there's biscuits and fairy bread. So
I think it's Danish.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the theme. Is great. The cooperative element is great. So this is definitely. Well, hang on, they're coming here! Yay! I'll be playing with them.
Yeah,
that's it.
And probably feeding them these.
Yes.
It's a relatively quick game. It's not going to. You're not going to spend a lot of time building sets like you might in a card game. You can vary the difficulty as well by giving the dog more tiles to start the game. So yeah, lots of options here.
And hopefully you enjoy all 5 games. And please let us know which one that you have played, which one that you think is interested for you to play, and make sure you do something fun today, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye!